Snail is one of the most polarizing foods in the world. For some people, the idea of eating a snail triggers immediate rejection. For others, especially in parts of Europe, Africa, and Asia, snail is tradition, nutrition, and even luxury. The strong emotional reaction to snails says more about modern food psychology than about the food itself. To understand snail meat, you need to strip away assumptions and look at history, biology, and nutrition. Humans have been eating snails for thousands of years. Archaeological evidence shows snail shells in prehistoric settlements, indicating that early humans collected and consumed land snails as a reliable protein source. Snails were slow, abundant, easy to gather, and required no advanced tools. In survival terms, snails were efficient food. Snails are gastropod mollusks, not insects and not fish. This classification matters. Their muscle structure, fat content, and nutritional profile are very different from vertebrate animals. Snails move slowly, carry their shell, and rely on muscular contraction rather than speed or strength. This results in meat that is extremely lean and dense. Taste is the first misconception. Snail meat itself has a very mild flavor. It does not taste slimy, bitter, or strong. On its own, snail meat is neutral and slightly earthy. The famous taste associated with escargot comes almost entirely from preparation. Butter, garlic, herbs, and seasoning define the flavor far more than the snail itself. Texture is more relevant than taste. Snail meat is firm, slightly chewy, and elastic. It sits somewhere between clams and squid in mouthfeel. When prepared correctly, it is tender but resilient. When prepared poorly, it becomes rubbery. Technique matters more with snail than with most meats. Nutritionally, snails are surprisingly impressive. Snail meat is high in protein while being extremely low in fat. This makes it one of the leanest animal proteins available. It provides complete protein with all essential amino acids needed for muscle maintenance, immune function, and cellular repair. Snails are also low in calories. This makes them attractive in traditional diets where energy intake needed to be controlled or spread across limited resources. In modern terms, snail meat fits perfectly into high-protein, low-fat dietary approaches. Micronutrients are another strength. Snail meat contains iron, magnesium, potassium, phosphorus, and selenium. Iron supports oxygen transport in the blood. Magnesium plays a role in muscle and nerve function. Potassium supports cardiovascular health. These minerals are often lacking in highly processed diets. Snails also contain vitamin B12, which is critical for nerve health and red blood cell production. This makes snail meat particularly valuable in diets that are otherwise low in animal products. One of the most overlooked aspects of snail consumption is digestibility. Snail meat is easy to digest due to its low fat content and fine muscle fibers. This is one reason snails were historically fed to the sick, elderly, or recovering individuals in some cultures. Culturally, snails occupy very different roles depending on geography. In France, escargot became associated with refinement and celebration. This was not because snails were inherently luxurious, but because they were transformed through technique and presentation. Butter, garlic, parsley, and controlled cooking elevated a humble protein into a symbol of culinary skill. In Mediterranean regions, snails were common rural food. They were collected after rain, purged, and cooked in stews or with herbs. They were not luxury items. They were practical nutrition. In parts of Africa and Asia, snails remain an important protein source. Giant African land snails are farmed and consumed regularly. In these contexts, snails are valued for sustainability and nutrition rather than prestige. The luxury image of escargot is a relatively modern construct. It reflects scarcity in urban settings, not inherent value. This distinction matters. Snails were never elite food by design. They became elite through narrative. From a health perspective, snail meat has few downsides when prepared correctly. It is low in saturated fat, contains no cholesterol issues of concern, and provides solid micronutrients. However, safety is critical. Wild snails can carry parasites if not properly cleaned and cooked. This is why traditional preparation methods involve purging and thorough cooking. Modern snail farming has addressed many safety concerns. Farmed snails are raised in controlled environments, fed clean diets, and processed under food safety standards. This has made snail consumption safer and more accessible. Comparing snails to other proteins reveals their uniqueness. Compared to beef or lamb, snails are dramatically leaner. Compared to chicken, they are more mineral dense. Compared to seafood, they offer similar protein efficiency without omega-3 richness. Snails are not superior or inferior. They occupy their own niche. Environmentally, snails are extremely efficient. They require minimal space, little feed, and produce low emissions. Snail farming has one of the smallest environmental footprints of any animal protein. In a future-focused food system, this efficiency matters. This raises an uncomfortable question. Why are snails rejected while other animals are accepted without thought? The answer is cultural conditioning. Snails do not fit the modern image of meat. They challenge comfort zones. That discomfort is psychological, not rational. Emotionally, eating snails forces awareness. You cannot eat them mindlessly. You know what you are eating. This alone makes them powerful in a food culture dominated by abstraction and packaging. Cooking snails well requires patience and respect. They must be cleaned properly, cooked gently, and paired with flavors that enhance rather than overpower. Garlic and butter are traditional for a reason. They add fat to an otherwise lean protein and carry aromatic compounds that complement snail texture. Snails are also a lesson in food humility. They remind us that value is not always obvious. What one culture rejects, another celebrates. What seems strange today may be normal tomorrow. In the modern wellness world, snail meat aligns with several trends. High protein, low fat, sustainable sourcing, and minimal processing all fit current nutritional goals. The main barrier is perception. Snails also highlight a deeper truth. Human diets evolved through necessity, not preference. Foods that sustained life were valued regardless of aesthetics. Modern abundance has reversed this logic, prioritizing comfort over function. In summary, snails are not disgusting, dangerous, or useless. They are misunderstood. They are nutritionally solid, environmentally efficient, culturally rich, and historically significant. Their rejection is learned, not earned. Snails are proof that food culture is flexible. What matters is knowledge, preparation, and openness. Once those are present, the barrier disappears. Snail meat may never become mainstream everywhere, and that is fine. Not every food needs mass adoption, but understanding it expands perspective. Snails fed humans long before supermarkets existed. They will likely outlast many modern food trends. Quiet, slow, efficient. Exactly like the animal itself.